Welcome everyone to my TEW 2020 AEW save. This is the final show of 2020 as AEW travel to the United Kingdom. So we are here live from White Hart Lane in front of 31,000 fans. Now before the night gets underway, we are backstage as Villain Enterprises, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows and Brody King are beating down Nick and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks. The Bucks, they're hurting. A steel chair comes into play. Brody King tosses Matt Jackson through a table that had production equipment on. It's just an all-out assault from Villain Enterprises as they eventually walk away, leaving the Young Bucks hurting. But there is still no sign of Kenny Omega. We get off to a strong start, a 71 segment rating for this beatdown before we head inside the arena. All that was done backstage for this UK special. Pyro erupts from the UK special stage as we hear from JR and Toni Schiavone. Welcome ladies and gentlemen, we are here live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium here in North London, England, and what a night we have lined up for you. Yes, JR, tonight Cody will face Marty Scurll, who was born not too far from here. Sticking with kayfabe for now. Cody says he wants to embarrass Marty tonight, and if Marty loses, he is gone from AEW, never to return. Also, we are supposed to have the Elite versus Villain Enterprises, but I'm not sure whether that's going ahead after what's just happened. Well, there are 3 titles on the line tonight, Tony, as Pac defends his TNT title against Orange Cassidy. The Lucha Brothers put their tag titles unwillingly on the line against the Best Friends, and Toni Storm defends her title for the first time against 3 other hungry competitors. But up next though, and starting the show, is the Battle of Britain 30-man Battle Royale, with the winner becoming the new #1 contender to Jon Moxley's AEW World Championship. So we get 58. It's been quite a strong start to this UK special pay-per-view so far. But let's take a look at tonight's card then. Up next is the Battle of Britain Battle Royale. 30-man should be an interesting one, and we'll also hopefully get the Elite versus Villain Enterprises. Kenny Omega teaming up with Matt and Nick Jackson. We'll also see Chris Jericho taking on Darby Allin for the 3rd time in AEW's life so far. We'll also have the AEW Women's Championship on the line. Toni Storm against Britt Baker, Mickie James and Kris Statlander. The Lucha Brothers take on the Best Friends, putting their tag titles on the line. We'll also see 1/3 of Death Triangle Pac putting his TNT Championship on the line against Orange Cassidy. In tonight's main event, we'll see Cody against Marty Scurll. If Marty loses, he is gone from AEW, never to return. So, the Battle of Britain Battle Royale 30-man got 61. I think that was probably the best that we were going to get for this. And after 56 minutes 16, it's Hangman Adam Page that defeated 29 other men to become the new #1 contender for the AEW Championship. Now, I had a few ideas going through my head for this 30-man Battle Royale that Hangman was to win. Archer has the most eliminations. I did want DDP to enter at some point because of the tension that they had leading up to this UK tour. But unfortunately, DDP doesn't want to compete, so we'll just have to pretend that he was in it. But he would eventually get eliminated. MJF and Wardlow eliminated Starks, and then Brian Cage went on to eliminate Wardlow, and EC3 and Cage then eliminated Butcher and the Blade, leaving MJF all alone. And then eventually EC3 will go on to eliminate MJF. And EC3 was certainly the star of the match as he managed to survive the longest. And you'll notice that it did include a lot of new faces in there and some returning faces. Matt Hardy, after being out for the last couple of weeks due to the hands of Lance Archer, he comes back, has a go at Lance Archer, but ultimately fails. You'll notice that Matt Sydal did debut in this 30-man Battle Royale. We had to have a few debuts in here. Warhorse was in there. We haven't seen Warhorse for a while. So I felt this was the perfect opportunity to throw him in there. We had Michael Nakazawa as well. So overall, I think, at 61, I think that's pretty decent for a 30-man Battle Royale. Probably could have, I don't know. No, I'll stick with what I'm saying. I think 61 is fair enough. And again, it had decent reaction from the crowds. Yes, subpar wrestling. But I wasn't going to put this on last with it being a 30-man over-the-top Battle Royale. So there we have it. Hangman Page goes on to win to become the new #1 contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. We'll have to wait and see what happens next as we roll in to our next segment of the evening. Hangman Page is stood in the ring and gets joined by Tully, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler. They all hold up 3 fingers each. Hangman is now the #1 contender to Jon Moxley's AEW World Championship. I was hoping for a bit of a higher segment rating, but it gets a 58. But we had to put in some sort of celebration there for Hangman. What story he has been able to tell. And hopefully there's more to come with this win from the 30-man Battle Royale. Anyway, this was a bit fun to put together as up next, Chris Jericho is seen walking into the stadium. He gets attacked from behind by Darby Allin, and Aubrey calls for the bell as the match begins. So we're into another street fight here. It's turned into a street fight. Darby and Jericho brawl. They make it to the concourse of Spurs Stadium. In the background, the bar can be seen, as well as the brewery. If you know about Tottenham and their new grounds, they have their own brewery inside. All sorts are used as weapons, from bins to chairs and signs saying wet floor. Darby gains the upper hand and throws Jericho through the glass into the brewery. They continue to battle. Darby bounces Jericho's head off the tank. He then climbs to the top of it and hits a coffin drop. Pins Jericho and Aubrey. Makes the count. 1, 2, 3. Darby wins. When Darby gets to his feet, he hits the brewery tank, which explodes beer all over Jericho. He's swimming in it. Darby walks out, leaving Jericho to wallow in his own self-pity. Darby won't be paying for anything. So the original plan for this was to actually have these two meet in the ring. But Jericho didn't want to put Darby over, unfortunately, which is a shame. We hadn't got Darby to the point of where Jericho thought he is a great talent and he's worth putting over. So we've had to do it as an angle, unfortunately, just like the street fight back at Halloween Havoc. But this story comes to an end between Jericho and Darby Allin, not between the Inner Circle and the Dark Order. That's still going strong. It's a great segment rating of an 86, including Jericho and Darby. And what a platform now Darby Allin has got to build himself upon. What a win over Le Champion as we roll into the next segment. Villain Enterprises make their entrance. Then Super Kick Party plays, and after a moment the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt, finally make their entrance. Matt holding his midsection and Nick his head. They slowly make it to the ring. When they get there, they are taunted by Gallows and Anderson, who attacked them at the start of the show, saying, "Where's your buddy, Kenny?" The lights go out in the arena. Devil's Sky plays. Kenny Omega walks out with a leather jacket on and aviator sunglasses, with a toothpick perched in his mouth. The cleaner is here. Matt and Nick smirk at Villain Enterprises, who seem taken aback. The crowd going crazy as you'd expect. The cleaner returns in the UK. This will be remembered for a long time, and the segment gets an 85. It's perfect. The cleaner back in AEW. I felt it was the perfect time as well to bring the cleaner back. He's come to clean up AEW of Villain Enterprises in this 6-man tag that we're about to have. Everyone looking great in this segment, as you would expect. The Elite going in strong, although Matt and Nick carrying those slight injuries, those slight knocks, after getting beat down at the start of the show by Gallows and Anderson. It's a good match. The Elite go on to defeat the villain enterprises of Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson and Brody King in 15 minutes 50, and it's Kenny Omega that pins Carl Anderson. It just had to be Kenny Omega getting the better of Carl Anderson for a third time in a row. When he returns to help out his elite brethren, he hit the one-winged angel on Carl Anderson. Then the week after, he fought Carl Anderson in the main event, hit the one-winged angel, got the 3 count, and he's done exactly the same here in this 6-man tag. So continuing on that story, Kenny had to go over as well, bringing back the cleaner gimmick, and it's a clean sweep. They've won the 6-man tag, but yet we still have that big one coming up between Cody and Marty Scurll, which will be our main event this evening. But look at that, across the board for the Elite, 91, 85, 84 for the Young Bucks. It's fantastic. And what segment rating, what match? Scored in 80, one of our better matches so far in this save. With the help of the cleaner Kenny Omega, the Elite have overcome Villain Enterprises. Nick and Matt somehow managed to fight through the pain after being attacked at the start of the show. They are drained but happy to get the win as they raise their arms. They go over to Kenny to celebrate with him, but he just shrugs them off and exits the ring. The Young Bucks watch him leave. They seem a bit disheartened, or maybe a bit disgruntled, I'm not sure. Twice now, Kenny has shrugged off the Bucks. What is becoming of the Elite? And it's another solid segment rating between the Elite. Or is it going to be the Elite for much longer? We will have to wait and see. It's an 83 as we will roll into our next segment. So things coming together just nicely, I think, there. And up next, Soviet-style Bulgarian music is played as it's finally announced that Miro is now All Elite. A statement has been made that Miro comes to compete against some of the finest in this business. He aims to dominate and to rule over this roster for a long time to come. Now the story with Miro is, when I first started this save, which started back in August, I went and signed Miro straight away, but little did I know he had this injury, so he's been on the sidelines for so long, and now we just come down to days for him to return. When he returns, well, you guys are just going to have to stay tuned to find out. But there is the announcement that Miro is All Elite. And I'm hoping his debut, I hope I can do it justice, and I hope when he does debut, it'll be a bit better than how he's debuted in real life for AEW. I get everything they're doing with Kip Sabian and Miro both being Twitch streamers and all that. I get it, it's great, I love it, but I want to do something different. I want him to come in as an absolute beast. Anyway, up next, it's the AEW Women's Championship match between Toni Storm, Britt Baker, Mickie James and Kris Statlander. It's a fatal 4-way, and after 10 minutes and 7, it's Toni Storm that pins Mickie James with a strong 0. Toni Storm makes defense number 1 of her AEW Women's Championship title. Kris Statlander was unfortunately the weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance, although the match did score 50. It says it's a poor match, but I don't know, I think be pretty decent to see between those four. If we just take a quick look here, it was done to a hot crowd, set to Wild Brawl, probably could have set that to calm the crowd, maybe that would have worked in our favour, and again the crowd not too happy with Toni Storm. Such a pity. But after the match, Toni Storm celebrates with her Women's Championship. She says to the camera, "I am your champion. I'm too good, and to prove it, I'm willing to put my title on the line on the first Dynamite of the new year against anyone." So Toni Storm against a mystery opponent on the next Dynamite, the first Dynamite of the new year of 2021. This segment getting at 50 as she goes off celebrating her defense of the AEW Women's Championship. As up next, well, how about this? JR goes on to say, let's go backstage to our newest broadcast colleague, Renee Paquette. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Obviously, we're not going to be calling her Renee Young. She goes on to say, thank you, JR. With me at this time, the AEW World Champion, Jon Moxley. Mox walks in with a huge grin on his face as he says, hey, Renee. So, John, what are your immediate reactions to Hangman Page becoming the new #1 contender for your title? My immediate reaction? Well, me and Page, we've never really fought in the ring, so that alone should make things interesting. Page is on a bit of a run at the moment. He's looked good these past few months, so I'll have to be at my best. And she replies with, "Thanks, John." And Moxley smiles, leans across, plants a kiss on Renee's cheek and says, "See you later." Renee is All Elite, so her contract came to an end with the WWE, and now she's here in AEW, which will or maybe happen in real life. We'll have to wait and see. And her debut was adequate. The initial rating of being a staff member gimmick, so it's just a matter of time before we get her onto the commentary desk. We'll have to wait and see, or whether we continue to use her backstage interviewing wrestlers. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe she can become the next commentator for Dark. We'll have to try and work something out. So up next, as both Best Friends and Lucha Brothers make their way to the ring for the AEW World Tag Team match, Tully, Dax and Cash are sat in the front row ready to watch on, with Tully sat in between them. They will face whoever wins this next match for those Tag Team Championships, as was mentioned by Tully on the last episode of Dynamite. And this gets a 51 segment rating. Tully did not do well with that script to follow. It's so weird. One week he'll be fantastic helping out Dax and Cash. The next, well, he just absolutely tanks in the segment. But anyway, on to the Tag Team Championship match between the Lucha Brothers and the Best Friends. It's a decent match. And after 17 minutes 45, Pentagon Jr. pinned Trent Beretta with a top rope Styles Clash. The Lucha Brothers make defense #1 of their AEW World Tag Team Championship titles. Chuck Taylor was a weak link, but saying that, it was a great match, a 78 rating. So far, this pay-per-view has been pretty decent. Match quality has certainly been the best that it can possibly be, I think. Let's have a look at the dirt sheet. These two teams, they just went out there, proper slugfest between the Best Friends, who've been looking for TV time, and they've certainly had it over the last couple of weeks. They've got to be happy with that. I mean, their morale had hit rock bottom after being, I wouldn't say buried, but being used just on Dark when I first started this series. So their morale, it did go down quite a lot. So I've tried to build it up over these last few months or so. But anyway, after the match, as Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix celebrate after defending their titles for the first time, Dax and Cash jump the fan barricade and step into the ring. They square up to the Lucha Brothers, who seem drained after their match. Then they turn their attention to the Best Friends, who are still on the canvas. Cash and Dax team up and hit Trent with a Goodnight Express. The Lucha Brothers see this as a challenge. Penta grabs Chuck, folds him up as Rey goes to the top, as they hit a package piledriver foot stomp combination. Penta then does the Celo Mido in Dax's face. He pushes his hand away. Lucha Brothers aren't happy. They've taken that as a sign of disrespect. Dax and Cash exit the ring, pointing at those tag team titles. Message sent. So at some point we're going to see these two teams facing off for those tag team championships. What a match that will be. And this is what I mean. You can see Tully Blanchard helping Dax and Cash throughout this segment, which scored a 54. I'm not too fussed with the segment rating when it includes Dax and Cash, because I know they'll always put on a great match, especially Penta and Rey as well. I'm not too bothered with the segment rating for an angle, just as long as they're getting good scores for a match. Anyway, up next is a video package promo played ahead of Pac and Orange Cassidy for the TNT Championship. Shots are shown from way back earlier in the year at Revolution, when Orange Cassidy fought Pac. Then their most recent match for the TNT title on Dynamite, which was Pac's first defense of the title. Tonight, this is their rubber match, and it will be fought under 2 out of 3 falls. It will be something special. This segment getting a 70. And there is quite a bit of history here, actually. Just reading over that again. Back at Revolution, we all remember their their match, how great it was. And then, of course, knowing that Pac put his TNT title on the line against Orange Cassidy after he won it at All Out. And now we end up here for a 2 out of 3 falls. The TNT title on the line again. And it's about that her good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. After 15 minutes 42 with 2 straight falls, our new TNT champion Orange Cassidy defeats Pac. The final fall happening by pinfall with a super kick. Orange Cassidy wins the TNT championship. Oh my word. OC, freshly squeezed, is certainly over now with the crowd. Well, he has to be. And having a bit of gold around that waist. Amazing. And it did kind of pain me to do it. I didn't want to take the title off Pac. I didn't want Pac to lose to Orange Cassidy, but I felt we need to do it because we need to be getting Pac in the main event. We can't be having him with the TNT title. Although it is quite the prestigious title still. I want to see what new rivalries we can get from Orange Cassidy. I want to see what OC can do. I want to see what Pac can do in the main event. I mean, there's so many options. Anyway, after the match, Bryce hands the TNT title to Orange Cassidy. Pac is outside the ring watching on, holding his head in disbelief. Orange Cassidy lazily holds the title up as the fans go crazy, as you'd expect. Pac is pissed. He keeps looking back to the ring to Orange Cassidy. He can't get over it. He's just dropped the TNT title to this lazy, good-for-nothing Orange Cassidy. And Orange Cassidy just sticks his thumb up. Your new TNT champion. Yay. And it gets a 68 segment rating. Orange Cassidy, our new TNT champion. What on earth will the network think of this? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe we'll get an Orange Cassidy celebration out of this as well for the next episode. Spoiler. Anyway, up next, a video hype and Cody versus Marty Scurll is played. A fight for the ages. So much at stake for this match. If Marty loses, he is to leave AEW, never to return. But what will that mean for Villain Enterprises? If Cody loses, Marty and Villain Enterprises will continue to expand, will continue to take over AEW. It's a must-win for both competitors. Cody's frustration may get the better of him. He is annoyed at so many people thinking that they have a right to be here in AEW. Marty believes his friend failed him. Should have been looking out for him when they first created AEW. It all comes down to this. Cody versus Marty Scurll in the UK. This segment getting a 73. Who on earth is going to come out on top? Is it going to be Marty Scurll? Will he continue his dominance with Villain Enterprises here in AEW? Or will he be gone, never to return? Well, the arena descends into darkness as wrestling has more than one royal family plays. Enter Cody from out through the stage. And then up next is Marty Scurll of Villain Enterprises. He comes to the ring wearing his long black coat, his Plague Doctor mask and signature umbrella. This segment getting an 81, hyping things up here within the Tottenham Hotspur ground in front of 31,000 fans. Cody coming across well. Marty Scurll getting better at his gimmick. What a match I'm sure this is going to be. I hope it is anyway. In a bout that have fantastic heat and great wrestling, as you'd expect. After 24 minutes 28, by pinfall with a fast roll-up, your winner, Cody. Cody defeats Marty Scurll, which means Marty Scurll is to leave AEW, never to return. It gets a 75, the match getting the crowd buzzing, sends them home on a high. We set this one to epic. Marty Scurll got a bonus for good psychology in an epic, so it went on for almost half an hour, this match. And seeing that there, segment rating getting penalised for being done to a crowd that was already at an emotional high. Looking back now, I really should have set that women's fatal four-way title match to calm the crowd. If I'd have done that, I think we would have got a much higher rating for this match. But even so, it's 75 between Cody and Marty Scurll. We're going to have better matches than that, of course, throughout this series. We've already had better matches than that. But I think that's a great way to end this UK special and something we can always remember. Anyway, after a clean sweep for the Elite against Villain Enterprises, we saw that 6-man tag end with the Elite coming out on top, and now we've seen Cody beat Marty Scurll. Marty sits in the corner with his bloody head in his hands. There would have been blood in this match without doubt. He is to leave AEW, never to return. Cody looks at him, offers his hand to help him to his feet. Marty accepts. Cody points to the entranceway and tells him to leave, and Marty does. Cody continues to celebrate as this AEW UK special comes to an end. And this final segment rating getting a 73. So Marty Scurll is gone, and the Villain Enterprises are All Elite storyline advanced and also ended with this segment, as we aim to do a few fresh things heading into the new year. Got a few new ideas. Can't wait to show you guys. Can't wait for them all to play out, of course. Well, let's see anyway how we've got on with the final show rating. Is it going to beat any of our previous pay-per-views? Halloween Havoc, All Out, Full Gear. It's got an 81. That's a success. Although we should have gained popularity in some American regions, Canadian and British regions. We have lost our ITV4 broadcast deal, so that's going against us at the moment. I can't even find anyone else to pick us up over in the UK because they're a bit wary of how the deal came to an end with ITV4. If anyone's got any suggestions on how we can overcome that, let me know in the comments below. But for now, that's it for this AEW UK special. Do hope you guys have enjoyed, and I will see you all very soon for the next episode of Dynamite, the first episode of the new year of AEW Dynamite. Thanks for watching.